What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we know Sega has been working to push Sonic more and more recently, whether it's in video games or in movies, other different types of media. But now it looks like they're even looking to Nintendo and calling them out along with Mario. We'll go over that though here today. Also, we are going to be talking about a PlayStation game that has officially leaked online, one that was canceled a long time ago, and to be honest, I'm shocked it's actually out there now because you can play it today. And we'll also be talking a bit about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because finally, it looks like it's over. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with Star Ocean Second Story R. It is out today, but reviews did go live yesterday, so we could take a look, see how all this went exactly. And it's coming in at an 86 on Metacritic. Now, it's an 86 right now on the PlayStation 5 and on the Switch. We're still waiting for reviews to come in, but at this time, the PlayStation 5 has the most reviews, so figure we'll look through there. 19 positive, however, 0 mixed, 0 negative. At an 86 for something like Star Ocean Second Story R? That's really good. I think that's better than people may have been expecting. I mean, you kind of look at how Star Ocean's been for a while now. I see how this would maybe surprise some people. Nonetheless, we can look at Noisy Pixel. It says, in summary, Star Ocean The Second Story R is a testament to the enduring legacy of the Star Ocean franchise, catering to both newcomers and devoted fans. While the narrative might have its shortcomings, the game compensates with its enthralling customization, eye-catching visuals, endearing character relationships, and so on. But if we go to the opposite end of the review scales here, well, the lowest score is an 80, so that seems pretty good. If you look at Eurogamer Germany, Video Chums, The Gamer, they all still seem pretty happy with the game. So in fact, at this time, no reviews that are necessarily negative, mixed, any of that. And yeah, I'm excited to pick up Star Ocean Second Story R. There is a demo if you were curious about the game. Check it out, whether it's on PlayStation, on Switch, or on PC. It's a sizable enough demo, I feel like, to get you started, and the save data will carry over, so give it a look. Also, we did get an update for Gran Turismo 7 with a feature in there that definitely caught my eye, but we can see the list of all the different additions here. That does include a new opening movie, 7 new cars, a new circuit, you have extra menus, you have update to world circuits, Gran Turismo Sophie, which is that AI driver that they've been kind of developing for a while now. It's out there. You can check it out in Gran Turismo 7 as this update is available right now. They do have that with Quick Race, and it's only on the PS5. They have 50 challenges added to licenses, and check this out, 4-player split-screen races. Now, this is PS5 only, and again, if you go back to the PS4, I could see how it would have a hard time, especially the original 2013 PS4, with something like 4-player split screen. But the fact that we are having couch co-op like that added back in to the PS5, where you can just kind of race against your friends on the same screen, it is a nice feature to see added in. So yeah, check out the update. It's available right now. Oh, and we did get PlayStation Plus Essential Games announced for November. These will go live on the 7th, and we can see over on PlayStation Blog, they put a nice little card here showing off the games. And well, let's start here with Mafia 2 Definitive Edition. That's marked for the PS4. Then we have Dragon Ball The Breakers on the PS4 and Aliens Fireteam Elite on the PS5. For the price increase that they announced, I really haven't been convinced with any of the months since then that they are adding extra value to Essential tier that is now $80 per year. Very hard to recommend it on its own unless you're really into Call of Duty or FIFA or Madden or something playing online. The titles haven't been great. I mean, Mafia 2 Definitive Edition, don't get me wrong, that's a good game, right? Dragon Ball The Breakers, I haven't played that game. I'm a Dragon Ball fan, but those kind of games don't necessarily aren't something I really seek out. And then Aliens Fireteam Elite, again, not bad, but nothing that's jumping off the screen exactly here. However, if you already have Essential and like you're good on it for a little while, you might as well claim them. They're there, and they will go live on November 7th. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sega, because we actually have a couple of stories here lined up with them, as they did talk to investors as well as the media, and they even unveiled a brand new Sonic game, just not necessarily where you would expect it to be. But we'll start at the top here. We can see this posted up over on Go Nintendo. And this is from an internal interview with Osamu Ohashi. This is the division manager at Sega. They discussed a number of topics as mentioned here, as well as one for the path forward for Sonic into the future. And, well, let's see what their main goal is here. They say, simply put, I want to surpass Mario. Wow, okay, Sonic is a game that was originally developed to compete with Mario, and it still hasn't achieved that goal. Our goal is to catch up and surpass Mario because we respect Mario. I want people to play it all over the world, including Japan, like Mario, and I want the movie to be a bigger hit than Mario. I would like USJ to create a Sonic area as well. That's our goal for those of us who love Sonic. Now, this is translated over, so you could see some nuances and stuff, not necessarily make it its way through translation, but I think it's really the core idea here is we want Sonic to get back to that point like it was back in the 90s when it was legitimately head-to-head with Mario, and it's kind of hard to necessarily explain it to younger audience now who see Sonic, well, as like the Sonic Forces characters. I know it's not anywhere near Mario at this time, but back then it was. So it's going to take them a while and a lot of work to get Sonic back to that point, if it even can, because they want to surpass Mario and they should. That should be their mindset and their attitude to push forward with. I mean, that's Sega's mascot still, and that's something that at least they have been able to keep going, is that Sonic, you think of Sega, you think of Sonic, right? Whereas right now, if you look around, I mean, you think of Microsoft, you don't necessarily think of Master Chief as much anymore. So I will give Sega credit. They have kept Sonic at like the forefront of the Sega image, but the quality of the games hasn't necessarily been the biggest priority, and even something like Sonic Frontiers, I know people do like the game, sure, I get it, but you see the pop-in and some of the graphics on it and the visuals and the animations, and it needs work. But again, I think that's a good platform for Sonic Frontiers going forward with these big open world style Sonic games. Now, on top of that, after really kind of calling out Nintendo and saying we want Mario, Sonic's gonna jump over Mario someday, that's our goal, they did announce a new Sonic game. But it wasn't exactly one we were all expecting to see. I mean, you can see the trailer here, and this is for Sonic Dream Team, which is cool because you can see they have a bunch of different playable characters, and it is kind of this 3D Sonic game. It's going to Apple Arcade, all right? And that's an exclusive for that that platform currently. Now they say, join a race against time to stop Dr. Eggman's bizarre dreams from coming true. Sonic Dream Team arrives December 5th exclusively on Apple Arcade. So for Apple Arcade, of course, you subscribe was like $7 or something a month, and they have a bunch of other games there too. And I guess Sega took a deal and said, yeah, we'll take the funding from this deal and we'll make a Sonic game. And the thing we've seen with Apple Arcade titles in the past, they do tend to at times be timed exclusive, so it's possible that this Sonic game ends up finding its way to other platforms years from now. But hey, we've talked about Apple dipping their toe into the gaming space a bit here and there, and they seem to be doing more and more production on the side of, well, chips that can do things like ray tracing, play some of these bigger games like a Resident Evil or an Assassin's Creed, but still grabbing some of these games, even from the ground up, developed specifically for Apple Arcade. I mean, it's at least a strategy they can try to attempt going forward alongside of their subscription service, because Apple makes quite a bit of money from gaming, believe it or not. They're up there with some of the bigger companies now. So yeah, unfortunately, the next big 3D Sonic game in December, you would need to have Apple Arcade 4. But this is just another way for Sega to get Sonic in front of more people, a bigger audience even on iPhones and iPads and MacBooks and what have you. But we'll see if Sega can really propel Sonic to that level, whether it's in movies or games or, again, all kinds of different media. Apparently, Sega, they're coming for Mario. Next up, let's talk about a canceled PlayStation game that I didn't think we'd ever see just kind of show up online, but it did. And this is some fascinating stuff to go through, because not only do we have the game, which you can, I guess, play on an actual PS2, I'm sure most people are going to try it on an emulator, we have the full backstory. Very, very interesting stuff here. But this page is now posted up over on Hidden Palace, and it's titled Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, unreleased PlayStation 2 game. That's right. This has been circulating for a long time now. There's a lot of history around the development for this game, but it was always still kind of missing pieces to it. And the biggest one being, we didn't have the game until now. In fact, you can go to this page that I will link down below in the sources, and you can download the ISO and fire it up in an emulator. Or what I'm going to try to do is put it on my PlayStation 2 that I spent quite a bit of time modifying, which will include an HDMI out internally, by the way. I'll try playing this Daredevil game because not only did they put it out there, they also fixed it. So before, it had a bunch of errors to it, of course, because it was technically unfinished, although most of the work done to it had gotten it to like the final stages of release, but being able to clean up some of the loose ends when it comes to errors, or they did all that. So yes, you can boot this game up. Now, the history is mostly around 5,000 Feet, the studio that was working to bring this game to market. And while they were creating it for Microsoft and Sony, with obviously the Xbox and the PlayStation 2 at the time, Sony seemed much more involved, and apparently that's just because Microsoft was like the new kid on the block at the time for gaming, and they didn't really have a hand in it like Sony, who had at least a bit more experience from the early PS1 days. Unfortunately, because there were just, you could say, too many cooks in the kitchen for this one, and they were being pulled in all these different directions with cool ideas even. Like, they were trying to make it kind of like a Spider-Man game of that time, right? Like Spider-Man 2, kind of open world like, where you can explore a lot. They even try to add in a grind mechanic that apparently was inspired from Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Eventually, they worked to change engines, and they kind of whittled it down to being more of a linear, level-based, third-person, beat-em-up style game, to the point where, hey, this is taking a long time, and it's costing a lot of money, and it's not going to make it out in time for the movie. We're going to cancel it, and we'll put out a Game Boy Advance game, which they did with Daredevil. But really exciting stuff here to have this game just available now after hearing about it for so long. And it was mostly just, again, bits and pieces. If someone was part of development at one point in time, oh, here's what I did, here's how close it was, here were some of the issues, but to not only have the full picture of what went on in development and really what went wrong, but just to be able to also check out the state of this beta version of Daredevil from back then. Pretty cool. So again, I'll leave a link down below in the sources if you want to check it out, whether it's in an emulator or if you have a modded PS2 or a way to play different ISOs on the actual hardware. Yeah, definitely give it a shot. Next up, let's once again talk about Sega and their super games, which is something we're all still trying to figure out exactly what it is. And I gotta be honest, the concern and even skepticism around Sega's super games is it's definitely getting a bit exacerbated now after what we're seeing with just games as a service. Now, that sector seems to be on the decline right now. Nonetheless, Sega hasn't necessarily defined what the super game is completely, so maybe it's a different kind of spin on live service or games as a service, but we have an idea as to when we should see the first one come out. And this was part of their briefing with investors, which you can see here on page 30, zoomed in under visualized earnings growth. Apparently by end of fiscal year 2026, or that would be like March 2026, according to their fiscal year chart, we should see creation of a super game. Okay. Again, still trying to figure out exactly what that is. We have an idea, at least somewhat, of some of the intellectual properties that have been brought up around that. Crazy Taxi has been one that's floated. Jet Set Radio seems to be a potential candidate, and I still think Sonic could be in there. Like, it wouldn't shock me if one of their super games was just going to leverage the Sonic intellectual property, since it's their most popular property. It seems like one they are continuing to build up now, and maybe the big culmination is this super game, which we're still trying to figure out what it is, how much money it's going to cost them, how dedicated they are to apparently multiple super games. I hope Sega is able to describe it a bit better to us, or even give us some kind of demonstration as what they're aiming for, because if it comes out and it's basically games as a service or a live service game, they might show up to the party way too late. So I assume if it's coming out maybe in 2026, we'll at least get a look at the game sometime in early or mid 2025. So I guess we'll look forward to whatever Sega has up their sleeve for a super game that Might be Crazy Taxi or Jet Set or Comic Zone or probably Sonic. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the final wave, Wave 6 of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pack. It's finally over. We'll get to that part in a second though. Let's take a look at the trailer here and we'll go through some of the different features and courses that have been added, which we have seen some of the characters, of course, the roster, Diddy Kong, Funky Kong, Pauline, Peachette, and Mario Kart Wii's Daisy Circuit. But they also have Rainbow Road from Mario Kart Wii, Madrid Drive, Piranha Plant Cove, Rome Avanti, these are from Mario Kart Tour, DK Mountain from Double Dash on the GameCube, Bowser Castle from Super Mario Kart, and Rosalina's Ice World, that's from Mario Kart 7. On top of that, we have 17 new Mii racing suits, a jukebox, which lets you listen to a course's music however or whenever you want. So shout out to Oatmeal Dome for going over that there. But my biggest thing, this is coming out November 9th. Like, we're finally done with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, right? This is it. I assume Nintendo was looking at this like, okay, it's going to wrap up right at the end with, of course, I know the holiday season here. We know Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a big push because not only do they have it in stores now next to the red box Switch, there's apparently an OLED bundle coming up here pretty soon, right? That's I think it already got announced in, I think, Australia with like the white OLED with the white dock with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So we'll probably see it announced in other parts of the world here pretty soon. And the booster course, of course, tied to Nintendo Switch Online. All that works together for the holiday season. But I feel like after we're done all this, 2023 ends, we go into 2024, we're done with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. All right, we don't need Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Plus or Deluxe or whatever weird thing they want to call it for the next system. That's done. Bring in the next Mario Kart, launch it alongside of the new system because that's their most popular game, absolutely. And you'd have a massive, massive launch, even more so than they launched with Metroid Prime 4 or a new 3D Mario. Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart, not Mario Kart, Mario Kart is the franchise I think you want to lead the way if you don't have a new Zelda game, for example, ready. So, hey, it was definitely a good run. A lot of stuff was added, 48 tracks, plenty of characters. A lot of content, I would say, went into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and it's a really cool pickup if you want a really, really fun racing game that you can play around with some friends, even go online. But we're just ready for the next one, so onward to 2024. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, do you use media streaming apps, Netflix, Hulu, etc., on your gaming console? Okay, 59% say no, 41% say yes. And I was kind of reflecting on the Switch and its lack of just media applications, because we talked about Twitch, and some people in the comments are like, oh, I had no idea I could stream to Twitch from my Switch system. You can. That's the biggest thing about the Twitch application, and probably why no one really used it. It was very, very lacking on features, and the ones that it had, it just wasn't very good at doing. I mean, watching streams on it was terrible. So I've thought about that more and more if Nintendo makes a push maybe for these media applications like a Netflix on their next system, if it's something that people would generally use. I do think from time to time you may, because it is a handheld device, so you might have it available to you and say, why don't I use my phone right now? I'll just fire up my Switch because I have access to Wi-Fi. To me, though, it's like, why not? It's there if you want it, and if you don't, you can just kind of ignore it. It's just more features and really more ways to entertain yourself on the system. So sure, if Nintendo can get it done and get Netflix and all these other ones there that are missing, why not? And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Johnny, who says, Bungie offers way more value than Activision does for Xbox. Jim Ryan. Yeah, that quote, I see that thrown around a lot online right now. Not aging the best currently, because I gotta say, I'm looking at Bungie right now, and based on a lot of stuff going around currently, it just keeps stacking. That just more and more reports and rumors and stuff are coming out about Bungie and how things are going with Marathon, and apparently Destiny 2's latest expansion is having a bunch of pre-orders just canceled for it, like the new one coming up. Are we sure that Bungie is that much of an expert on live service games? Because apparently that's the real reason that Sony, I would say, overpaid for Bungie at that, over $3 billion, is because they're supposed to be experts in live service games, but they've really had like one successful live service game with Destiny 2. I know Destiny 1 was still popular, but clearly Destiny 2 is the game that Sony looked at and said, well, they know what they're doing. But it's like, do they? Because I keep seeing more and more people discuss how hard it is to get into Destiny 2 right now, and you feel like onboarding new players would be one of the biggest things they'd focus in on, and it's just, it looks really complicated and frustrating to try to figure out where to even start. I asked like 3 or 4 different people who play Destiny 2 where to start. They all told me different expansions and pieces of content to go check out. So, whew, not great right now with Bungie, and yeah, that Jim Ryan quote, not really aging well. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. We're Sega sizing up Mario and Nintendo looking to pass them with Sonic. Is that even possible in the next decade or two? And then also, what about Daredevil, this game that was canceled on the PlayStation, now just leaking online? And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we're finally done with the Booster Course pack. Do you think now, going into the next system, we're gonna see the next Mario Kart as a launch title? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.